G-Roll Electronic Productions, baby.
Welcome to DEMOCREPUBLIX, where we cover the real news that matter to we the people. Shadow state, embracing corporate governance to escape constitutional limits. Everyone, before I get started, this is a great article I wanted to go over. This basically encapsulates everything that's going on right now pertaining to the Biden administration and censorship and social media. So please share this one out. This information has to get put out there on what's really going on. So I'm basically going to go over this great article by Jonathan Turley. It's like I said, it basically encapsulates everything that's going on pertaining to censorship and what the Biden administration is trying to do right now with censoring everything from your text messages to whatever you post on your social media sites. And this is straight against the First Amendment, but they're trying to control information. But just listen to this article. Teddy Roosevelt gave a speech in 1902, The Control of Corporations, which warned off of the danger of corporate power over citizens' lives, calling corporations creatures of the state. He said they must be controlled by, quote, the representative of the public. Roosevelt was a Republican, but his distrust of corporations and his later faith in big government will become a touchstone of democratic politics for generations, from the Great Depression to the Great Society. Like the reversal of Earth's magnetic poles, American politics now seems suddenly to have flipped. Democrat leaders increasingly advocate for corporate governance, while Republicans voice populist themes. From supporting the largest censorship program in history to privately mandated vaccine passports, liberals are looking to companies like Apple or American Airlines to carry out social programs free from constitutional and political limits imposed on the government. See, this is how they get away with it, because the government can say, "Oh, it's not us," it's the corporations that's doing all this stuff, and we got no control over these private corporations, and that's the government excuse. While at the same time, they're the ones telling these corporations to create these policies. That's what this what he's saying so far. This new model of governance was evident with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about a mandate vaccine passport system. She responded that it is, quote, not currently the role of the federal government, but noted that the administration hopes to see such a mandate from private sector entities, universities, institutions that are started to mandate, and that's an innovative step that they will take and they should take. See what I'm saying? So they're actually pushing these corporations and schools and stuff to do this stuff, because they know by law they're not able to actually force people to do this. But this use of corporations is born out of political and legal convenience. Despite the rising call for mandatory vaccines, the Biden administration clearly is not willing to face the political costs of a government mandate. As of July 11th, 159,266,536 Americans were fully vaccinated, 48% of the country's population. When you consider the extreme high rate of vaccinations for those over 65, an estimated 85%, the percentage of adults under 65 is even smaller. That is a lot of voters who would not take well to a government mandate before the 2022 election. Moreover, the Supreme Court upheld a mandatory state vaccine in 1905, but any federal mandate could face constitutional challenges. Private companies, however, have great leeway in dictating such conditions. So some, like CNN medical analyst Dr. Lena Wen, have called for coercive measures making it hard for people to remain unvaccinated. That coercion would come from private companies, which would deny people access to travel, restaurants, movies, schools, and other aspects of modern life. Thus, as Psaki's statement, the Biden White House is signaling private companies to implement such a national passport system, and companies are listening. And I'm sure they're meeting behind closed doors also. Recently, Morgan Stanley declared that all employees must get a vaccine to return to work. While many have religious objections, Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman made clear in July that employees would face what when called, quote, hard times if they tried to work from home. Quote, if you want to get paid New York rates, you work in New York. None of this I'm in Colorado and getting paid like I'm sitting in New York City. Sorry, that doesn't work. The message could not be clearer that working remotely will come at a penalty. If successful, corporations will manage a system of barriers and penalties to isolate the jab hesitant into a smaller and smaller space of existence. Citizens will find increasingly difficult to be able to travel or dine out unless they meet the demand of corporate policies. The political convenience of relying on corporate controls is most evident in the support for a massive system of corporate-based speech controls now implemented in the United States. The government cannot implement a censorship system under the Constitution, but it can outsource censorship functions to private companies like Facebook and Twitter. Just this week, the White House admitted it has been flagging misinformation for Facebook to censor, and we talked about that. At the time, Democrats like Senator Richard Blumenthal had demanded that big tech companies commit to even more robust content modification, an Orwellian term for censorship, basically. Liberal writers and media, sorry about that, liberal writers and media figures have called for corporate censorship despite the danger of an effective state media run through private corporations. Even Columbia journalism dean and New Yorker writer Steve Call has denounced the First Amendment right to freedom of speech being weaponized to protect disinformation. I mean, these people are really trying to destroy the Constitution. Our very First Amendment is being violated, and I don't understand why no one's doing anything about this. This is crazy. The public is now required to discuss public controversies within the lines and limits set by corporate censors with the guidance of the government. Twitter barred reporting on Hunter Biden laptop. Oh my gosh. Oops. Sorry about that. Where were we? The guidance. Twitter barred reporting Hunter Biden laptop until after the 2020 election. Yeah, they totally ignored the story, but of course we didn't. We was all over that story. Facebook only recently announced that people on its platform may discuss the origins of COVID-19 after previously censoring such discussion, but it still bars opposing views on jabs and the pandemic. Other companies actively block wayward thoughts and views. Last week, YouTube was fined by a German court for censoring videos of protests over jab restrictions. Meanwhile, Twitter censors criticism of the Indian government meant to expose mismanagement of the pandemic that's costing lives. The common refrain from the left is that corporate censorship is not a limit on free speech because the First Amendment only addresses government limits on speech. They not only maximize the power of corporations, but minimize the definition of free speech. Free speech is not exclusively contained in the First Amendment. That's true. It includes the full range of speech in society in both private and public forums. Yet liberals who once opposed the recognition of corporate federal speech rights in cases like Citizens United are now great advocates of corporation speech rights in order to justify the censorship of opposing views. Yeah, where is the ACLU on all of this? They are silent on the whole social media censorship stuff. And the ACLU, see, they really don't care about people's civil liberties. Social media companies are not just any businesses. However, they were created as neutral platforms for communication between people when they were given special immunity from lawsuits. Yet these corporations now control an enormous amount of public discourse and have become the rising threat to the democratic process, expanding their authority to frame the debate on issues ranging from climate change to gender identity, from election fraud to public health. Like, we can't have no differences of opinion on any of that stuff without being censored. You must espouse the truth as established by these companies on certain questions of risk being banned, as misinformation spreaders. Indeed, Psaki this week insisted that once people are banned by one company, they should be banned from all social media companies. And we talked about that. So if Facebook ban you or YouTube ban you, then you banned basically from the internet. I mean, this is some draconian stuff right here. If these trends continue, citizens could find themselves effectively exiled by order of corporate governors, unable to travel or go to school, while also barred from espousing dissenting views on social media. They would effectively be disappeared within a shadow state that lacks any electoral or appellate process, a dystopian brave new world that could become all too real if we allow elected officials to use corporate surrogates to limit speech, the essential aspect of our lives. Decades after Teddy Roosevelt warning about corporate control, his cousin Franklin, a Democrat, warned that the first truth is that the liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself. That warning is worth repeating, indeed, worth tweeting if Twitter will allow it. I mean, that was a great article by Jonathan Turley, again from The Hill. Great article. I'm gonna hold on to this article because I'm sure I'm gonna reference it again. But again, y'all need to share this out, get this information out here, and show what the Biden administration is trying to do to the First Amendment by way of corporations. Let people know about this, and click that thumbs up, that like button on your platforms, and also check me out on Patreon. I got some exclusive content on Patreon that you're not gonna find on the regular YouTube or Twitch or however it is you're watching. So check out the Patreon and sign up for that. We start off at $5, so check me out. And check out DEMOCREPUBLIX.com, where I do articles over there also. And like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to donate, you can donate at PayPal at DEMOCREPUBLIX or JPsych at Cash App. Until next time.